Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Chris. It's a Friday, and I wanted to do something a little bit different than just dropping another sneaker review. I used to do these kind of news articles on YouTube a long time ago. They didn't gain a lot of traction, so I kind of slowed down. But then I look back on an Under Armour video that I did a few years ago, and it had really good traction. So maybe I made a mistake and I should get back to doing these different things. So it's a good time to get into um, probably the biggest discussion in sneakers in the US right now, or actually globally, we could say. Um, this press release dropped yesterday. Under Armour and Stephen Curry agreed to Curry brand separation, and everybody's pontificating, everybody's talking, everybody's kind of questioning why or what went on. We'll never really be given information about why they decided to do it. But the interesting thing is, yesterday I wrote this article before this announcement had even been made. So you see the article to my side, Sharon Lochte, Under Armour, and why the velocity is the key to a breakthrough. And I wrote that article over the course of a week, and it leads to a report. And that report is a pitch deck breakdown of what Under Armour needs to do to kind of move the brand forward. I did the article and the report before I had any idea that they were going to separate with Steph Curry. Now, what I will note, if you go into this discussion on the separation, it's extremely amicable. On LinkedIn, as a matter of fact, let me go to LinkedIn, and I don't have it up there at the top. Go to my feed. When I posted this article, it started to pick up a little bit more traction after the announcement that Steph Curry is separating from Under Armour. And the back and forth on it, it's really interesting, but I've been answering questions here. And Glory, if you see over here to my side at the bottom, they asked, kind of related but not quite, in your article, you mentioned that the Curry sneakers were the key drivers for their footwear category. What are your guesses as to what their next key drivers will be now that Curry and UA have ended their relationship? So first, Under Armour is stating clearly they'll be releasing the 13, and the 13 will carry all the way through next year. And the income from Curry brand will still show up on Under Armour's earnings next year. So that would be for their 2027 year. So we're in 2026 now. The quarter we're in is 2026. So when I answered that question, just so I won't gloss over it, I put a link in the description so you can click through if you are on LinkedIn and you can go and read this back and forth. And I wrote that the separation, and they were asking, you think this will be a Kobe Adidas type of situation? I immediately responded, this is much different than Kobe and Adidas. Kobe bought his way out of his contract with Adidas. Curry and UA feels like an amicable distancing, which means there will most certainly be drops between the brands in the future celebrating the accomplishments Curry attained over the length of their partnership. So I don't see this as something that's kind of the brand and the athlete pitted against each other. This feels like something that's very kind of organic and it's being done in the best interest of Steph Curry. Usually when an athlete leaves a brand, for example, Kawhi left Jordan brand and had to fight to get his claw logo. It's not like he did anything with it, but he had to fight to get that. Usually when an athlete leaves a brand, they don't get to take any of their basically what they own, their intellectual property. They don't get to take any of that with them. There's usually just a complete blowout and it's over. In the sense of Kobe paid his way out so he could just be done with Adidas. We can't talk about Patrick Ewing in the same way. It kind of happened the same way with Adidas, which kind of gets us into a theme with Adidas. Trae Young Doesn't take any of his ice tray stuff from Adidas to Jordan Brand, who he's with now. But this isn't about Adidas. This is about the Curry situation. And I want to get to the point. I'm not going to get there quickly. So hopefully you're up for a good conversation. And you know what? If you engage with this, then we'll do more of these because I really dive deeply into this stuff. I've been covering Under Armour for years. Now, I'll come back to the dialogue that's been taking place on LinkedIn. I'll come back to that, and I'll remember to come back to it. But I wrote this article yesterday, Sharon Loketti, and Under Armour and why the velocity is the key to a breakthrough. And in that article, I go into deep. I'm going to put it in the description so you can click through. But here's the gist of it. Under Armour has had what I call stars in their footwear roster. Matter of fact, I'm going to jump back over here real quick because of a comment that Sandy Dover, who's an incredible writer, by the way, if you're a person that's looking for a copy guy, a business person that writes, Sandy Dover, that dude is good. He said that losing Steph pretty much kills UA's momentum. What a tragedy. The old guard of UA circa 2015 really had something going. And we're going to get to that because I have a lot of data for you guys to look at. And I'm going to go through every year of footwear sales for Under Armour for the second quarter, which is the quarter that this was announced for. This separation happened 2026 second quarter. But I wrote Sandy back when he said that. I said, what momentum? And I said the chart I posted in this article shows a relatively flat business. Now, when you come back over here, I put two charts in this article that you can go to, and it shows the revenue over the course of the whole year. So 1.0 billion, a billion, 1.1, a billion, 934, which is basically a billion, 1.3, which is basically a billion. As you round down, you're still under 0.5, right? And then I came back and I gave another set of charts in this article. The article is really detailed, and it talks about me making what I call retail dives and visiting Under Armour's outlets, and seeing this abundance of mediocre, poorly designed footwear. But what I talk about in this article, and I'm going to get back, I'm going to try and cover everything, is the fact that Under Armour has this kind of trifecta of the Velocity, and that's just the shoe that you see in this picture next to me, the Brigade, which is a fitness, not a fitness shoe, but the Brigade is and I'm slipping my mind right now, and I apologize, but the Brigade is a cross-country shoe that I say that you can use for incredible sprint sessions. It looks almost like a sprint spike, but it's cushioned because it's a cross-country shoe. But this one has lugs on it. It doesn't have spikes. But the Brigade, the Velocity, the shoe that you see to my side, the Brigade, that's the Velocity 3. The Brigade and the Rain. The Rain is their hit shoe or their training shoe. That in those three shoes, Under Armour should be tackling a niche area, which is track and field, particularly youth track and field. And the fact that you can spend all of this money on a rapper like Gunna in a football ad. And that's what I get into in this article, is that Under Armour's had these really good opportunities, and they've squandered all of them. All of them. Now, I'm going to get back to those comments over there. But what I want to jump into here is I said that Under Armour had the Summit Fat Tire, which is a shoe that would have gained them access into sneaker culture when sneaker culture was popping, right? We know sneaker culture is now kind of down because everybody's just looking at retro. It's like the shoe of the year discussion with Complex, and they're choosing all these retros, and the designer comes out and says, you guys keep choosing all these old shoes. Under Armour had a shoe that would have given them access into sneaker culture, but they did absolutely nothing with it. And that shoe was called the Summit Fat Tire, right? Now, their original shoes that gained them access into basketball culture was the Curry line. And the Curry line did very well, contrary to popular belief. And you're going to get to see how well the Curry brand did for Under Armour over the years. Now, the last 3 years, things have changed, but I really don't think they should have let Steph Curry walk away. But I have a feeling Under Armour in this big because as soon as they released this information, right, about Steph leaving, they immediately put out another press release talking about a restructuring plan. They did a restructuring plan a few years back. And if you don't remember, Under Armour had UCLA. They had signed UCLA. They were getting ready to take over the uniforms for Major League Baseball. None of that came to. They had UCLA for a few years. Recruitment died for UCLA. UCLA is now with Jordan Brand. Recruitment is taken off of UCLA again. But more important, Under Armour was going to take over the baseball uniforms for the MLB, and they backed out of that deal as well. And as you notice, Nike has MLB, Nike's got UCLA. We can go through the different things that Under Armour has done in the past, but that takes us off topic again. And I know this is a lot. I really do, man. And I hope that people watch this and they're like, dude, this is really informative, but you're all over the place. Yeah, I am all over the place. I apologize because I'm trying to bounce back and forth between an article that I wrote that had absolutely nothing to do with Steph Curry yesterday and had everything to do with the fact that Under Armour has an amazing running shoe, a super shoe, in the Velocity 3 that Sharon Lokedi has been wearing and winning and getting on the podium. Under Armour has the best running kits in track and field. They do absolutely nothing with it, which brings me back to the fat tire. Now, why am I talking about the fat tire? I'm going to click this and open it up. This is the original fat tire. That fat tire, if you look at the market data, this thing still sells. It came out in 2020. People don't even remember, other than people like me. I own a pair. They are some of the dopest shoes that Under Armour ever designed. Under Armour did absolutely nothing with this sneaker. And it's still, these are all sales from 2025 on a shoe that's 5 years old. Easily the best design that Under Armour had. When you last sale, $309. This is the pair I actually have, and I wear these often. They feel fantastic, but they look even better. Under Armour didn't do anything with this Summit Fat Tire. I call it a missed opportunity. The Velocity 3, all of the podiums that it is grabbing, the job that the Dark Sky running team is doing for Under Armour in track, Under Armour isn't promoting and doing anything with it. And it really comes to bear when you go and you start looking at videos of the best carbon plate running shoes, and you look at the graphic on this video, and then you watch the video, and Under Armour's Velocity 3 does not show up at all in discussions on the best super shoes. And the Velocity 3 is a carbon plated running shoe. This means that Under Armour is once again getting ready to miss on an opportunity. And that's what this article was originally about. But I even put in numbers from old sales stats that I had for Curry's. And then I created a pitch deck for Under Armour to look at, if they wanted to look at. So let's go back over here to the end. Not the end, but to the conversation that I was having with Sandy Dover. And he said that it pretty much kills UA's momentum. And I said, what momentum? Consider this. Think about this. When you think about breakout sneakers for companies, and I give you a brand, what shoe do you think about? Now, I'm going to influence you in a way, because I'm going to tell you the shoes that had breakout moments for all of these different brands. And I'm not going to mention Nike or Adidas at all. I'm talking to brands where Under Armour is in competition with these brands. Puma had the Creeper with Rihanna. That shoe exploded. If you remember years back, that thing was reselling for upwards of $200 to $300 a pair. The Creeper, it was like a $50, $60 shoe. I might be wrong about that price, but I'm not wrong about this. Vans had the Yacht Club. Now, that was the old school, right? They had the Yacht Club, and that thing exploded. Vans has had moments. Fila had the Disruptor. If you remember the Disruptor and how hot it was for a time, Fila had the Disruptor. I am going to mention Adidas because of the NMD. The NMD was a trend for a while. It was incredible. Now, not so much, but it was a standout. Asics has the Mexico, and of course, they're different retro running shoes right now. Hoka has the Clifton and the Bondi. On has the Cloud Runner, right? Crocs, they elevated. Skechers had the Gomeb. Now, you may not remember this, but Skechers had a serious running shoe, and it did numbers. Big numbers, right? Under Armour, and this is what I told Sandy. Under Armour with Steph relied on a diet of keeping the ship steady through calm waters. If you want to go slow, go through calm waters and go steady. If you want to get somewhere fast, you're going to go through some turbulence. You have to go through some turbulence. Under Armour never rocked the boat. They never took their ship through turbulence. Ever. Ever. There's no point where you can say that there's been a star in their SWOT chart. So if you have a SWOT chart, right, they haven't had a star. And now they are going to lose the legacy that they have been creating by letting their Prefontaine walk away. And this is what I'm saying to Sandy. You think about New Balance, which I forgot to put up earlier. New Balance had the 247, the Tokyo Rat 247. If I open up a file and look that up, that thing sold for ridiculous money. But the 247 led to the I can't remember what it was, 337 or something like that. But New Balance has consistently recreated itself every year. And they have a consistent stream of interest in their retro running shoes. And then they have these influencers, Amine, Action Bronson, Jack Harlow. It's to the extent that New Balance has everything going on. But you know what really exploded New Balance in running? Femke, Sydney, Gabby. Track and field. And then they have Coco and tennis. These women that they've signed in sports that are not traditional, big, high-profile sports, tennis and track and field, have done amazing work in moving women towards the footwear for New Balance. Is it a mistake that Under Armour is letting Steph Curry walk? Definitely. They should have found some kind of way to keep him in. But when you go to this release and the restructuring, you immediately find that Under Armour is cutting money. If I were in a classroom, I would ask if there's something about AI that will also hit Under Armour and the employees there. But this isn't a class and we're not going there. We're going to stick with what we started with, and that is giving you information and data related to Steph Curry and giving you a more kind of data-driven discussion on the brand. Once again, this feedback that I've been getting into with people is really insightful, right? And Stephen Green, one of the best business people that I know, wrote that I love when you get into your sneaker industry writing bag. And then he says, a few years ago, I was at the Black Footwear Forum talking with someone, and they described the UA brand as one that checks all the boxes but will never be able to hitch itself to the culture. They've had some great products over the years, but I haven't seen them tell great stories, evoke emotions with the brand. And then he said, unless you mean Trump. Now, he threw that in there. And this was my response. I said, I'm shaking my head at the last part of that statement, LOL. The funny thing is, sneaker culture. We're all people that look at the station, even the old heads that look at this, and the people who are interested in business discussions, and not just me unboxing these shoes that you probably don't get to see. Sneaker culture sits in the hands of my generation. If you look around my wall, you see the evidence of sneaker culture, the pictures that are on the wall. It's our generation, though. My son, who just graduated college, and this is what I wrote to Steven. I said, it's like the Clips album. The Clips album, let God sort them out. I think album of the year in hip hop, incredible, right? I love it. My son hasn't even taken the time to listen to it at all. At all. I gave my sneaker collection to my son. All of those kicks that I gave him, he took them off to college with him, but they're in big blue shipping bags, these gigantic bags, and they've been sitting in the garage probably getting mold all over them. He does not care about displaying these sneakers. He doesn't care about them like I did. This is where we are. This generation of millennials, and you start going into the next, the alphas, they don't care about kicks the same way. The people that I see standing online for sneakers now are my age. They're older dudes that couldn't afford the shoes when they were young. So sneaker culture, even when you look at the complex sneaker panel, all them dudes are old. They're old. They're old, 30s, 40s, 50s. They're not young dudes that are driving the culture. They're old dudes. The people that are pursuing hype sneakers now do so primarily for financial reasons, not because they love the brand or the sneakers or that there's a story being told. And this is something that I wrote here, and I said, now that basketball sneakers are officially functional, and I've been saying this for years, the need for a signature sneaker only benefits a brand in the Chinese market where basketball is treated like it was in the 90s. A signature sneaker no longer carries the weight that it did. Did the AE do very well for Adidas? Yeah. Is the Ja doing very well for Nike? Yeah, they are. But if you remember when I did the series on sneakers in the third-party marketplace, the best sellers in sneakers were the GT Cut at one point, and flagship Nike, which is Jordan. That's not a signature. It's a signature for Jordan, but the people that wore it, they don't have signature shoes. There's not really a need at all in the U.S. for you to have a signature athlete. It's more important for you to have sneakers that actually perform, because that's what basketball sneakers are now. Basketball sneakers are not worn for comfort anymore. This is not the 90s. This is not the 2000s and the early 2010s with the Galaxy Pack or the Curry 1 blowing up because Curry won that. Curry could have been wearing almost anything. And when he won that first championship, kids would have wanted that shoe. It didn't have to be a Curry. There's not these signature shoes. If we go through and we start looking at the data, we're going to see that a lot of the numbers are down. As a matter of fact, if I went to my email, which I should do, is open that up and show you, but I don't want to get off topic so much, and this is long already, but I'm treating it, it's like a podcast, so just go with it and listen to it. And let's get back on track real quick. And I am going to open up my email and find some reports from like StockX and look at the top 100 shoes over every month for the last year, right? And we're going to look at the top 100 shoes and see if there are any basketball shoes that don't belong to Kobe in the top 100 shoes. And I guarantee you're probably not going to have many of the signature sneakers in that list. You might have Kyrie or Anthony Edwards, AE. But I don't think it's going to be many. But let's get into some data here. Let's look at Under Armour and their growth over the years, right? So 2014, we'll start there. Q2 2014. Second quarter footwear revenues increased 34% to $110 million. Now, this is one quarter. $110 million from $82 million in the prior year's period, led by new introductions in running. So 2014, Under Armour has no mention of Curry. They were just signing him. They were just getting him. But remember, 2014 would have been 2013 in this report. But that's 2014, Q2, 2014, $110 million were the sales in Q2 of 2014. 2015, Q2, up to 154 million. Here's our first introduction to Curry, product expansion across the running category, and ongoing excitement around Steph Curry's signature product. So Q2 2015 would have been 2014, the year of 2014. Curry initiates excitement, growth. Q2 2016, right? Q2 2016, footwear net revenues increased 58%. Incredible, to 243 million from 154 million the prior year over year. Success of the basketball category led by the Curry signature basketball line, as well as growth in running and cleated categories. Curry, 58% growth. That's Q2 2016. Q2 2017, footwear revenue was down 2% to 237 million against last year's same period, which was up 58% due to significant strength in basketball sales. But you get the decline. You also get what I call the 3-year circuit, right? So Curry shows up Q2 2015, 2016, Q2 2017, third year of Curry, and you get a slight decline in footwear, right? You get a slight decline. There's something that I call the 3 to 5 year dip. And that's because people were excited initially. People keep that excitement a little bit. It levels off and then it declines. And unless the brand does something to pivot and bring Curry back up, remember the Chef Curry shoe 2, the Chef Curry 2? Everybody tends to think that the Chef Curry killed Under Armour and their growth. And you would be like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's why I went down 2% with Chef Curry. It's not true. Under Armour killed it themselves. I have articles on the site where I discuss in great detail the first Curry sneaker had over 18 marketing touch points. By the time they get to the Curry 3, Under Armour only created one marketing touch point for Curry. Under Armour did that. They did not make any marketing products for Curry at all by the time they got to the 3. When they got to the 4, nil, nothing. They relied solely on Curry to do everything. So now we are in Q2 2017. We're going into that 4th year. So what do we have? Footwear is up 271 million with strength in running and team sports. Team sports, no mention of Curry in this one at all. And that's because they were not advertising Curry. The shoes were no longer in different accounts. Under Armour tried to mimic Nike because Nike hadn't introduced a consumer direct offense, but Nike had started cutting accounts in 2014, 2015. They started not to track futures because they were focusing heavily on direct to consumer. Under Armour tried to do the same thing. Instead of taking the shelf space that Nike was leaving behind, they were pulling product from the Foot Lockers, doing kind of exclusive deals, and they also got hit by the Sports Authority. There's so much here to discuss that you need someone to ask questions. But let's keep going because revenue was up 271 million in Q2 of 2018. 2019 Q2, revenue increased 5% to 284 million, slightly up again, 5%, that's good. Q2, where are we now? 2020. And we have footwear revenue decreased 35% to 185 million. COVID kicked Under Armour's butt. Now, this is the funny thing. Crocs, On, Hoka, all of the brands affiliated with running got their butts kicked, but not the same way. As a matter of fact, everybody bounced back the following year because post-COVID, everybody was out spending money and you had stimulus stuff popping off. So we go to 2021. right? Q2 2021. Footwear revenue increased 85% to 343 million. Under Armour turned a corner, did okay. No mention of Curry here at all. But footwear revenue increased to 85% increase to 343 million. It's by far and away the biggest increase for Under Armour. So 2022, they did not put up a file where I could find it. Yes, they did. Q2 footwear revenue increased 14%. Q2 2022, right? Yeah. So we got to 376 million. Now, let's see what we jumped to here. It's 2024. The 2023 report was not up. So I got one of the numbers off here. But footwear revenue in Q2 2024, which would have been 2023. All right, remember that 2024 is a year. So we're looking at Q2 2023 basically, but it's called Q2 2024. Just go with it. Hopefully you get what I'm saying here. Footwear revenue down 7%, 351 million. So you get that big spike, 2021, 2024 Q2 dropping. Let's go to 2025 Q2. Footwear revenue was down 11%. No mention of Curry to 313 million. Let's go this year, it's 2026. And footwear revenue declined 16% to 264 million. Under Armour's in a decline. How do we see this in a chart? I built this chart so you could see it. Growth. 154, 243, 237, 271, 284, COVID, 185, 343 million, 343. The peak of Under Armour's success in footwear, Q2 2023, 376 million in Q2. And since that point, 351, 313, 264. Curry is leaving, or there's this amicable separation between Curry and Under Armour. Once again, we come back to this discussion over here that we were having. And this is my final thoughts, and I'm going to wrap this up because this is long. I know it's long. I hope you stayed with me. I appreciate it if you did. Responding to Stephen Green. Under Armour is never the first thought for sport or fashion. They are never the first thought for sport or fashion. Under Armour has consistently attempted to play by Nike's playbook without delivering any of the imagery or branding needed to connect to fans. The irony for Under Armour is that they've had more sports moments in the last 10 years than any other sports company in the world. Any sports company. But their inability to convert that cultural sports capital into action is astounding. Consider this. At one point, Under Armour had the MVP of the NBA, the MVP of the Major League Baseball Association, the MVP of the NFL, the winner of the Masters in Jordan Spieth, the heavyweight champ in Anthony Joshua, all in the same year, the same time period. And what does anyone remember from those athletes from that time period? What marketing do you remember? Nothing. I go back to the Summit Fat Tire. In 2020, Instead of jumping on that Summit Fat Tire when people told the brand this shoe is the one to get you in the sneaker culture, they followed Nike into NFTs. And now they are parting ways with arguably the GOAT of this generation in basketball. Now, does it make sense? Kind of, but not really. And this is what kind of tells you that they didn't want this relationship to end. In all likelihood, Under Armour simply couldn't afford to make the relationship bigger, particularly in their home base of the United States. You look at the last 3 years. Let's go back real quick. 376, 351, 313, 264. Now this is 1 quarter. 1 quarter, year over year, the decline in the last 3 years of Under Armour's footwear. Steph Curry won another championship. Steph Curry won a gold medal after competing in the Olympics for the first time, and he was the hero. Funny enough, if you go to third-party platforms and you look up Steph Curry's the Olympic shoe for Steph Curry, the things are reselling for over $300 to $400 a pair. Now, luckily for Under Armour, with this separation, the U.S. market is in a moment where the signature sneaker really doesn't matter. Everybody has a signature sneaker. Austin Reeves has a signature sneaker. Jaylen Brown has a signature sneaker that he owns his own brand. Spencer Dinwiddie had a signature sneaker. This is no shade. The signature sneaker doesn't hold the value it once did. What's most important right now, and this is a good thing for Under Armour, the industry is moving on what's accomplished in the footwear. That's what means something to the consumer now. What can be accomplished in this footwear? I see Sidney McLaughlin doing great things. I'm interested in New Balance. That's kind of the way it is. If I wear these running shoes, can I run faster? That's what's making people think about what to buy. Folks aren't buying as much, but they're paying more. Think about this. On Running didn't pop because of a signature sneaker. They don't have one. Even though Roger Federer is behind it, there's no signature sneaker. They do have the Roger, the court shoe. They don't sell. Not very well. It's not Zendaya that's making people buy On Running. People bought it because of the design. That's the same thing with the Clifton and the Bundy from Hoka. That's the design. If Under Armour's letting Steph walk away, the good thing is there's no better time to do it than now. The most important thing is when you go over and read about how this is ending, this is a relationship that these two people can get back together. This breakup isn't an ending. This is a breakup where a brand is going to be okay with their athlete that they're losing, working with someone else, as long as they can come back and release, products with his logo on it still. And I think that they will do special releases of Curry's footwear in the future because this relationship didn't end on bad terms. Should they be doing this? No. Do they have to? When you go back over here and you look at the revenue, they don't have a choice the last 3 years. They have to reset. But do they have the ability to reset into something bigger? Definitely. Like I said, the original Fat Tire, not a signature sneaker, still sells for the same price it sold for back in 2020 when it was released. Still, people are still interested in Curry. But when you take away the Curry 12 Olympic models, in third party, the Curry series sells at a negative 53% price premium, which means half off the retail price. This is an opportunity for Under Armour to change some things, and they should. And they have a winner in the velocity. But are they going to do anything with it? That's the question. I don't know. But I appreciate you guys for sitting through this because that's long. I know it's long, and I slightly apologize. I said I was going to do something here at the end. I was going to open up email to look at a breakdown from StockX to look at the sales of shoes in the top 100 on StockX. And I think I'll do that right now. All right, this is an add-on to the discussion. Like I said, I know this is a long video, but I hope it's so informative that you guys are excited about looking at it. These are power seller reports over we can start here, it's at 2023 all the way up to 2025, right? And I'm going to open the link in a new tab for 2023. And let's see, 722. I'm going to do the same thing in 725, 2024. And I am also going to do, since there's no 7 for 2025 yet, I'll open up 6. And I'm opening these up, and I'm going to the US report for each one. That's June 23. This is 24. And this is this year, 25. And what am I doing here? I'm looking at the top 100 shoes. And like I said, this is an ending of this video. And just to show you what I mean about basketball shoes. So 2023, we're going back to 2023 and we're looking at basketball shoes and how in demand they are in the third party marketplace, which I tend to say that the third party marketplace is really representative of what's hot and what people are interested in buying. Once it's sold out in some instances, but yeah, you're going to have the majority of the shoes are going to be hype shoes that are in here. So what I'm looking for are signature basketball shoes. And this is from June of 2023. And we're going through our top 100 shoes. And we're looking for signature basketball shoes. And we're going through the list. And we're going to get to the end of this list in 2023. And we don't have a single signature basketball shoe at all, outside of Kobe's. And Kobe's are retro. They don't really count. You do have 2023. You have the Ja 1 here at 61. You had the Ja 1 Day 1 at 68. So the Ja shows up. Signature for in this list. Now, let me keep going because I may have missed something else. Let's see. Let's keep going. At this time, that's it. Just the Ja. The Ja was in the top 100 shoes at this point in 2023, in June of 2023. June of 2024, let's go through and see if we have signature basketball again. Kobe, of course. Signature basketball. We're looking for signature basketball, right? Still going through looking for signature basketball. And nothing there. You guys can look and follow with me. There's a KD, and the Anthony Edwards, AE. Anthony Edwards at number 53. Anthony Edwards. KD4, not going to count that. That's a retro shoe. But it's a signature. Kobe, of course. We're looking for signature basketball. So far, it's Anthony Edwards, the AE. AE. So far, AE. KD. KD shows up all the way at 97 and KD 16. And the AE at 93. So Adidas and the AE in basketball. So all of this money going to signature athletes. And when it comes down to it, the shoes that sell the most in third party are not basketball shoes. They are not signature basketball shoes. Not at all. Not at all. Let's go over to this year in May 2025, and let's see if we have in our top 100 a signature basketball shoe. Kobe. I mean, and I know it's quiet, and I'm like, well, if you're still listening and listening to this and see it as Kobe. There goes a Kobe. And we're getting to 100 here. Anthony Edwards isn't even in the top for this year-over-year kind of look at the top 100 shoes. There's no Anthony Edwards here. And this gets to my point that if now is possibly the only time that you could get away with letting a guy like that walk away. Basketball shoes no longer dominate the conversation. They honestly aren't even in it. Unless it's the Ja, Anthony Edwards last year, the Ja this year, this month, maybe. Things have changed. Things have changed. That's it. This is a really long video. Thank you for watching, man. And if you want me to do more of these type of videos, I know they're long and, but I enjoy doing this stuff, man. I wish I could do it live and I had the patience to sit and do it live. But my greatest fear is to do something live and no one shows up. But that's it. I'm going to wrap this up. And I'll put as many links in the description as possible for you to click through and read different things. If you have questions, man, please ask. I don't mind. I'm a professor. It's what I do. So I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Peace. Oh, like, share, and subscribe. Let's get up to like 10,000 subs, man. I'm at 5,500. That's not bad. See you guys on the next one. Peace.